Everyone thinks they know the answer. Ask who could defeat the Mountain and you'll hear the same names. Arthur Dayne, Barristan Selmy, Oberyn Martell. The legends, the heroes, the men whose stories have been told 1,000 times. But history has a habit of hiding its deadliest warriors. Not every great fighter becomes famous. Not every monster wears a crown, and not every man capable of killing Gregor Clegane is remembered by the singers. The Mountain's reputation is built upon fear, his size, his strength, the certainty that no ordinary man can stand against him. Yet buried within the histories of Westeros are 5 warriors uniquely suited to destroying everything Gregor relies upon. Men who matched his strength, men who surpassed his skill, men who understood that giants fall the same way as everyone else, one cut at a time. Today we are not discussing the obvious answers. We are discussing the forgotten ones. And by the end of this video, you may realize the Mountain was never the most terrifying warrior Westeros ever produced. Not even close. Number 5. Sandoq the Shadow. If Gregor Clegane is a nightmare, Sandoq is the nightmare that nightmares fear. History remembers kings, history remembers dragons, but every so often a man appears who seems less like a man and more like a force of nature. Sandoq came from Essos, a giant, a killer, a warrior whose very presence unsettled those around him. Unlike Gregor, however, Sandoq possessed something far more dangerous than strength: discipline. When Gregor becomes angry, he grows reckless. When Sandoq became angry, he became precise. His most famous feat occurred during the regency of Aegon III, outnumbered, surrounded, facing enemies determined to break through, and yet when the fighting ended, it was the attackers who lay dead. The Mountain has crushed many skilled warriors through sheer physical superiority against Sandoq. That advantage disappears, and once Gregor loses his greatest weapon, the fight becomes far more interesting. Number 4. Fireball. Some men earn titles, others become them. The moment you hear the name Fireball, you already know what kind of warrior he was. Fast, aggressive, relentless. The sort of fighter who never allowed an opponent time to think. Gregor's greatest victories often begin the same way. His opponent hesitates. They see the size, the armor, the sword, and for a moment they become afraid. That moment is all Gregor needs. Fireball would never give him that moment. Accounts from the era speak of a warrior feared by allies and enemies alike. A man who attacked with such ferocity that even experienced soldiers struggled to withstand him. The Mountain is accustomed to controlling the pace of a fight. Fireball would deny him that luxury. And against an opponent who never stops moving forward, even giants can be overwhelmed. Number 3. Gwayne Corbray, perhaps the most forgotten name on this list, which is remarkable considering what he accomplished. During the first Blackfyre Rebellion, Gwayne Corbray crossed blades with Daemon Blackfyre himself. Not for seconds, not for minutes, for nearly an hour. Think about what that means. Daemon Blackfyre was not merely a great warrior. Many considered him the finest fighter of his age, the kind of man other knights measured themselves against, and Gwayne stood before him, matched him, refused to break. Most warriors lose against greatness. Gwayne proved he belonged beside it. Gregor's style relies heavily upon intimidation. Gwayne Corbray spent an hour facing a living legend by comparison. The Mountain may not seem nearly as frightening. Number 2. Roddy the Ruin. The Mountain terrifies young knights. He terrifies ambitious lords. He terrifies men who still have something to lose. Roddy the Ruin was not one of those men. When the Dance of the Dragons erupted, Roddy marched south with the Winter Wolves, old northern veterans, men who expected never to return home, men who had already made peace with death. There is something profoundly dangerous about a warrior who no longer fears dying. Throughout the war, Roddy earned a reputation that spread across the 7 kingdoms. Battle after battle, bloodshed after bloodshed, he survived, and not merely survived, he thrived. The Mountain relies on breaking a man's spirit before breaking his body. Roddy's spirit had already been tempered by a lifetime of hardship. Gregor would find no fear there, only steel. Number 1. Cregan Stark, the Wolf of the North. If there is one man on this list capable of defeating the Mountain more often than not, it is Cregan Stark. What makes Cregan so dangerous is not merely his strength, though by all accounts he possessed plenty of it. It is not his reputation, though that alone caused powerful men to think twice before crossing him. It is the combination. Strength, discipline, patience, intelligence. Most warriors excel in one area. A rare few excel in two. Cregan excelled in all of them. After the Dance of the Dragons, battle-hardened lords who had survived one of the bloodiest conflicts in Westerosi history suddenly became very cooperative when Cregan Stark arrived. That tells you everything. Men who had faced dragons feared disappointing him. Not because he was cruel, not because he was unpredictable, because they knew he would do exactly what he said, no matter the cost. Gregor's greatest weakness has always been his temper, his inability to control himself. Cregan would see that weakness immediately, and unlike most opponents, he would have both the patience and the skill to exploit it. The Mountain wins because people fight his battle. Cregan Stark would force Gregor to fight his, and that changes everything. The Mountain's legend has grown so large that many fans speak of him as though he were unbeatable. He wasn't. No warrior is. History is filled with larger men, stronger men, faster men, men who seemed invincible right up until the moment they weren't. Sandoq the Shadow Fireball, Gwayne Corbray, Roddy the Ruin, Cregan Stark. 5 warriors hidden in the margins of history. 5 men capable of accomplishing what most would consider impossible. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson Westeros can teach us. The most dangerous man in the room is not always the most famous. Sometimes he is the one nobody remembers until it is too late.